Is the Shadow Communications Minister, David Coleman. David, thanks so much for your time. Good to see you. This is certainly, a priority area for the coalition. We can see that. The government is looking at this as well. They say it's a little bit more complicated. Is this one area, though, that you think the opposition and government can actually work together to get an outcome more quickly?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Laura. We've got to get this done. And I think what was really good that came out of last week is we now appear to have bipartisan agreement that the age of access for social media should be 16. And that's a really big deal because what we've seen over, the last 20 years of social media is these appalling mental health impacts on kids. We've seen an age of 13, which is far too young and which hasn't been enforced anyway, so is basically meaningless. And we came out with a very clear commitment last week, and the Prime Minister appeared to say that he also thinks the age should be 16. And I think that is something that agreement is of profound significance because this is a very big issue and certainly would encourage the government to move forward.
Okay, so how do you do this? Because that is the next question. It's not as easy as it might seem. Peter Dutton last week suggested that there would be a tax disincentive if the social media companies didn't agree or at least help impose this. Is that the main lever you've got to pull, or do you think things like facial recognition and massive advancements in technology will be the thing that gets this across the line and actually makes it effective?
Yeah, look, I think the first point, Laura, is sovereignty resides with the people, not the tech platforms. So they might not like it. Too bad. If they want to operate in Australia, they've got to follow the laws of Australia. So that's a key point. And sometimes you see people say, oh, well, they'll just ignore it or whatever. Well, they'll have a very big problem with the Commonwealth of Australia under our government if they do that. Now, in terms of the different models, you'll see in the UK where the Ofcom, the regulator, which is similar to ACMA here in Australia, has published a very detailed guidance on age assurance there in online pornography. And already numerous of the online pornography sites, directly in response to that new legislative regime, have introduced age verification they previously didn't have. In the US, you've got numerous states like Florida and Georgia, passing legislation with huge bipartisan majorities to bring down the age of social media access and to involve parents in validating, that child's circumstances. So there's a lot happening here. This can be done, Laura. What will happen now, of course, is the social media companies will throw up obstacles and they say, well, it shouldn't happen because of this or that, and look over there at all these other things we're doing. But we have to stay laser focused here because this is about protecting kids. It's about helping Australian parents. This is a very big deal and we need to get it done.
These are trillion-dollar companies, and we're mostly talking about Instagram and less so Facebook because younger people aren't really getting onto Facebook, to be honest. They're sticking with Instagram and things like Snapchat. But it is, we're talking about trillion-dollar companies. Are they really going to be deterred by a small financial disincentive that a future government or a government might impose when really it's in their interest to get as many people on their platform as possible? So they don't really have that incentive, do they?
Well, first point, Laura, is the financial disincentive need not be small. So that's the first point. The point you make about the financial consequences for these companies is
for them to actually feel the effects of it, don't you think?
Well, clearly, I think it has to be a significant penalty, absolutely.
What are we talking about?
And the point you make about the financial consequence, well, look, we'll have more to say about that down the track, but the point you make about the financial consequences for these companies is right. So the US Surgeon General last year pointed to research that showed that 40% of 8 to 12-year-olds were on social media. And of course, there are millions of kids around the world, underage kids, who are on social media. So the financial consequences of this for the tech platforms are significant. And as a consequence of that, they will fight it hard. But, we're not playing for the tech platforms. We're playing for Australian families, and we need to stay very focused on that at all times.
Okay, thanks so much for your time today. We'll speak again soon.
Thanks, Laura.